Hello, welcome to Reformation and Revival Now. We're going to continue our study that we're calling the Law of Genesis, and we're in chapter 3, and now we're going to get into the fall. But first, let's talk a little bit about Lucifer. When that first war took place in heaven, Lucifer came up against God. And I won't go into great details at this point, but just a little bit about God's enemy. In that war, Jesus said, I saw Satan fall as light from heaven. And remember, he was called Lucifer, star of the morning. So this great beam of light fell. There was no contest. Jesus said he saw, so that means that, he probably didn't even have to get up off his throne hardly. There's never been really any competition as far as, actually power. But here's where the competition is. Satan said, hey, I can't beat you, but I'm going to get your creation. I will get you through your creation. I will bring you pain. If I can't whoop you, I will bring you pain. And don't think that that hasn't hurt God. Sure it has. Because he went after mankind. He went after the whole planet, but he went after mankind in particular to get back at God. So that's important to have that backdrop as we enter into chapter 3. So I'm going to reprise a bit. I'm going to repeat a little bit. We're going to go back to Genesis 3, and we're going to start in verse 6. We'll take it from there again. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave it unto her husband with her, and he did eat. I don't want anybody to misunderstand Eve. Eve is performing her function. Her function was to make things better. She found this fruit. She figured it was good for food to make him wise. And she said, here, honey, let's take this together. She's doing what she's supposed to do. However, her motivation now is different because Satan has deceived her. So that calls her to misuse her function. A reason why I want to bring this out, because people have been blaming the woman for years for this. The person to really blame is the man. And I'll give Satan his props. But I got to talk about Adam. Sin is passed down through Adam because he wasn't deceived. He was there with her. He wasn't somewhere around town somewhere. He was there with her, and he was hearing all of this, and he did nothing. He was being passive. So I want to say to you men, don't be passive spiritually or any other way, because you are responsible before God to protect your family, to protect your spouse, and to make sure that they're not led down what we call the garden path. But Eve was fulfilling her function. She didn't do anything wrong, in her function, but she was deceived, so Satan calls her to misuse her function. And very often we can get into that. We can misuse what God has called us to be by being deceived. So this is why all these things are here in Genesis. They are the pattern. They are to show us, how we are to conduct our lives and how we are to follow the Lord word for word by his commandment. And now, as we know, all of sin is passed down through Adam because of his transgression, because with his eyes open, he passively disobeyed the Lord and plunged all of mankind into sin. And of course, this makes Satan very happy. He's glad now that Adam is going to be kicked aside, and he's going to now be able to move in Adam's place, not exactly the way Adam could, but he can move in place now to begin to take over what motivates the world and what controls it. The Bible calls him the prince of the power of the air. Well, anyway, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to pick up from verse 7. There's some interesting things to take a look at there. Welcome back. All right, let's quickly get into verse 7. This is Genesis chapter 3, verse 7. And the eyes of them were both open, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of the Lord walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. And the Lord called unto Adam and said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, The woman whom thou gavest me to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And the Lord God said unto the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And the Lord said unto the serpent, I'm going to stop right there, right in the middle of that verse. I want you to see that after the fall, their natures immediately changed. Now, this is so important to realize. Even though Eve, before she ate, was going in a direction that was leading downhill, she hadn't sinned yet. But the moment they ate it, their natures changed. The first thing that happened, their covering came off. They had never thought that they were naked, but their covering of God's love, his peace, their innocence, his glory was now taken away. And without that covering, they became ashamed of themselves. What for? Because God made everything to have a covering. And the animals had a covering too, which was really their fur or the different things that God gave them. But Adam and Eve were actually covered in God's glory, so there was no need for clothes. Now, that's an interesting note, but you need to understand here that their nature has changed. So first we see shame, okay? Then we see fear, okay? They're hiding from God. And notice something very unique here. You see something very satanic about Adam and Eve now. Now it's survival for the fittest. It's about me. The first thing Adam does, he blames God and he says, well, the woman that you gave me, she's the one that did all of this. And isn't that something? Oh, he's bailing, he's selling Eve down the river now, and he's blaming God for the whole matter. He's not taking responsibility that he was Mr. Passive, that he didn't stand up for the Lord. He didn't stand up for what God had commanded him to. He passively, he didn't say that. But here's the thing, when you are a sinner, self is everything. I'm going to take care of me. So their natures have now changed. And the blame game is going on. I blame God because you're the one that gave it to me. And the woman that you gave me, that person over there, she gave me to eat. Not saying anything about his responsibility. Okay? And Eve does the same thing. The devil made me do it. Well, man, come on. And neither one of them are saying, Lord God, we broke your commandment. We heeded the advice of the serpent when we knew that you had clearly said to us. No, there's no answer like that. It's totally selfish. Balaam ship. The devil made me do it. It's all Eve's fault. We see that nature now. Now they are very much like the devil and the serpent himself. Okay. And this is very important to know, because once you have this fallen nature, God can't really treat them the same, and he has to evict them as he evicted Lucifer. Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, the thing I also want to say as I begin to close is that God has a distinct personality, and you'll find out for people that have walked with God, including myself and others, you're going to find that God likes to ask questions. Think about after the fall, all the utterances of God right here. The first thing he says, Adam, where are you? That's question number 1. 2, who told you you are naked? 3, have you eaten of the tree that I commanded you not to eat? Then he says, Eve, what have you done? So we're talking about the first 4 utterances are all questions. So what this tells you about God's nature is that he will always ask you where you are at. This is very important to know about him. God does things because he's righteous, and he wants you to agree with what is righteous. So he will often ask you questions, not because he doesn't know, but because you need to know where your heart, where your soul is at. All right, that's all we're going to do for today. We'll pick it up right where we left off. God bless you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.